The alarm system screamed across every military base on Earth. Admiral stood in the command center, watching the screens fill with red dots. 500 of them. 500 alien warships had just appeared in orbit around Earth. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Bora, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. Nodded, "Put it through." The main screen flickered. An alien face appeared. It had gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, and a mouth that moved in strange ways. The translation software kicked in after a few seconds. "Humans of Earth," the alien said, "I am commander of the Empire. Your planet is now under our control. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces and governments. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities one by one. We have conquered 47 worlds. You cannot win. You will submit." The screen went black. The command center fell silent. Everyone looked at Admiral. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, but those eyes were calm, almost too calm. "Get me Captain Menu," said quietly. Across the solar system, Captain Menu was already moving. His ship, the Indomitable, was humanity's largest warship. It had been built in secret over the past 20 years, but Menu knew the truth. Even with humanity's best technology, the Indomitable would last maybe 10 minutes against that alien fleet. "Captain, we have orders from Admiral," said Commander, Menu's second in command. Menu read the orders on his tablet. Then he read them again. A small smile crossed his face. "Well," he said, "that's not what I expected." On Earth, Doctor rushed to the command center. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. For 15 years, she had studied every signal from space, hopping to find alien life. Now she had found it, or rather, it had found humanity. "Admiral, let me talk to them," said as soon as she entered the command center. "That's exactly what I want you to do," replied, "but not in the way they expect." He handed her a folder, opened it and read quickly. Her eyes went wide. "Sir, this is unusual." "They expect us to be afraid," said. "They expect us to either fight or surrender. We're going to do neither." Took a deep breath. "When do I start?" "Right now." 20 minutes later, Earth sent its response to the fleet. But it wasn't a surrender. It wasn't a declaration of war. It was an invitation. "Commander," said, speaking into the camera, "we received your message. We would like to meet with you in person. We invite you to send representatives to our planet. We promise safe passage. We have prepared food and accommodations. We wish to understand your culture and your needs. Please come and talk with us." On the flagship, Commander stared at the screen. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion. In 47 previous conquests, no species had ever responded this way. "Is this a trick?" asked his second officer. "Probably," said, "but they are primitives. What can they do? Scan their military forces." The officer checked his screens. "Sir, they have approximately 200 ships, all small. Their weapons are basic nuclear missiles and projectile guns. Their largest ship is only 500 meters long." Smouth moved in what might have been a laugh. "Our smallest fighter craft could destroy their best warship. Very well. We accept their invitation. Prepare a shuttle. We will show these humans what mercy the Empire offers to those who submit quickly." Back on Earth, Admiral gathered his staff. "They accepted," he told them. "They will land in 6 hours. Captain Menu, begin Phase 1. Doctor, prepare the welcome ceremony. Commander, I need your people ready." A woman stepped forward. Commander was tall and moved like a ghost. She ran Earth's special operations teams. "What exactly are we preparing for, Admiral?" she asked. Smiled, it was a sad smile. "We are preparing to do what humans do best. We adapt, we survive, we win by not playing their game." "I don't understand," said Lieutenant Bora. "They have conquered 47 species," explained. "They use the same method every time. Overwhelming force, fear, shock. They expect species to either fight heroically and lose or surrender immediately. Both outcomes give them what they want. "So what do we do instead?" asked. "We confuse them," said. "We make them think. We make them question. We treat them not as enemies but as people who have been forced into this role by their empire." Doctor nodded slowly. "We fight the empire, not the soldiers." "Exactly," said Captain Menu. "Your orders are simple. When the fleet moves to attack positions, I want you to move the Indomitable and every ship we have into defensive positions." "Defensive around what, sir?" Menu asked through the video link. "Around their ships," said. "Make it impossible for them to fire at each other without hitting us first." The room went quiet. "Sir," said carefully, "that's suicide if they decide to fire." "No," replied, "it's insurance. They are warriors, but they are also practical. They won't waste ships destroying us if we make it cost them their own forces. And more importantly, it sends a message. We are willing to protect even their ships. We are not their enemy. Their empire is." Commander spoke up. "And what about my teams?" Turned to her. "Your people are not going to fight. They are going to become the best intelligence gatherers humanity has ever produced. Every signal they send, every transmission, every data packet, I want it all. And I want it within 24 hours. "That's impossible, sir," said. "A year ago, talking to aliens was impossible," replied. "We make impossible things happen. That's what humans do." 6 hours later, the shuttle landed in Geneva. Commander emerged with 10 guards, all armed with weapons that crackled with blue energy. What he saw made him stop. Thousands of humans stood in organized rows, but they weren't soldiers. They were civilians. Men, women, children. They held signs with messages in the language, messages the translation software had helped them create. "Welcome to Earth. We want peace. Let us understand each other." Doctor walked forward, alone and unarmed. She bowed. "Commander," she said, "welcome. We are honored by your presence. Please come with me. We have much to discuss." Looked at his guards, then at the crowds, then at the small human woman before him. This was wrong. This was all wrong. Where was the fear? Where was the resistance? Where were the defiant speeches about freedom and death before surrender? For the first time in his military career, Commander felt uncertain. Behind him, his communications officer whispered, "Sir, we're detecting thousands of small craft launching from Earth. They're spreading throughout the system." "Are they attacking?" demanded. "No, sir, they're just moving, scanning. They have no weapons." Doctor smiled gently. "Those are research vessels. We want to learn about your ships. We want to understand your technology, your culture, your history. Is that acceptable?" Didn't answer. He couldn't, because he realized, standing there on this alien world, that he had no idea what these humans were planning. And that scared him more than any weapon could. Engineer had not slept in 3 days. His eyes were red, his hands shook from too much coffee, but he was smiling. On the screens around him, data flowed like waterfalls. Beautiful, perfect data. "We're in," he said to his team. "We're completely in." The thousands of small craft that Earth had launched weren't weapons. They were the most advanced scanning devices humanity had ever built. For the past 72 hours, they had been collecting every signal, every transmission, every stray bit of electromagnetic radiation from the fleet. "What have we learned?" asked Commander. She had appeared in his lab like a ghost, silent and sudden. Jumped, spilling coffee on his keyboard. "Don't do that." "Report," said, not smiling. Took a breath. "Everything. We've learned everything. They use a frequency pattern we can predict. Their ships talk to each other constantly. Their security is military grade, yes, but it's designed to stop attacks, not passive listening. They never imagined someone would just collect data without fighting." "Can we decrypt their communications?" asked. "Already done," said proudly. "Their encryption is complex, but it follows patterns. They've used the same basic system for 200 years. Why change what works, right? Except now we can read everything they send. Allowed herself a small smile. Send everything to Admiral and get some sleep. We need you sharp for Phase 2. What's Phase 2? Asked. You'll see, said, and vanished as silently as she had arrived. Across the world, something strange was happening. A 16-year-old girl named sat in her bedroom in Seoul, typing frantically on her computer. She was part of a global network of hackers, programmers, and communications experts, all civilians, all volunteers. Their mission was simple but massive: contact the fleet, not the commanders, the individual soldiers. Had been assigned to Ship 247, a mid-sized cruiser with a crew of 800 warriors. Using the protocols that team had discovered, she could now send messages directly to personal devices on that ship. She began typing. Hello, my name is I am a human from Earth. I am 16 years old. I go to school. I have a cat named Cloud. What is your name? She sent the message and waited. Nothing happened for 5 minutes, then 10. Then her screen flickered. Why do you contact me? The reply said. Are you military? His heart raced. No, I'm just a student. I wanted to talk to someone from space. What's your name? What do you do on your ship? Another long pause, then, I am a weapons technician. Why are you not afraid? Should I be afraid? Typed. You're just a person doing a job, right? I want to understand you. She waited. The reply took even longer this time. I have been a soldier for 20 years. I have helped conquer 12 worlds. This is the first time anyone has asked me my name. Stared at the screen. Then she began typing again. Around the world, thousands of other humans were having similar conversations. A teacher in Brazil, a doctor in Nigeria, a retired engineer in Canada, all talking to individual soldiers, all asking questions, all treating them like people, not invaders. On the flagship, Commander was having the worst day of his career. What do you mean our communications are compromised? He demanded. His communications officer looked terrified. Sir, the humans are sending messages directly to our crew. Thousands of messages. They're asking questions, sharing information about Earth, discussing culture and... Block them, roared. We've tried, sir. They've somehow learned our protocols. Every time we block one channel, they find another. And, sir, some of our crew are responding. Felt his blood go cold. Responding to enemy communications. They don't see them as enemy communications, sir. The humans are talking to them personally, asking about their lives, their families there. Enough, slammed his fist on the console. Prepare the fleet for attack. We will show these humans what happens when they mock the Empire. But before he could give the order, Doctor's face appeared on every screen in the flagship. Every screen on every ship in the fleet. Commander, she said calmly, before you attack, I have something to show you. How did you? Started but continued. We have been studying your transmissions. We found something interesting. Historical records, cultural archives, data that your own ships carry but that your empire never shows your soldiers. The screens changed. Images appeared. Cities beautiful and peaceful, art colorful and complex, music strange but haunting, and then documents, historical documents showing the empire before it became an empire, when it was just one species among many living peacefully. Where did you get this? Whispered. From your own databases, said. Your ships carry your entire history. Your empire just doesn't want you to see it. Did you know that 200 years ago there were explorers, not conquerors? Did you know your people once valued peace and cooperation? Throughout the fleet, soldiers watched the same broadcast. Many of them saw their own history for the first time. This is propaganda, shouted. Lies. The data came from your own military servers, said quietly. We didn't create it, we just found it. And Commander, we found something else. Records of what happens to conquered species. what your empire really does to them. New images appeared, species stripped of their culture, planets drained of resources, civilizations erased, the true cost of the empire. On ship 247, the weapons technician stared at his screen, had sent him a message. Is this true? Did your empire really do this? Looked at the historical records, at the images of his people before the empire, at the records of conquered worlds. His hands began to shake. I didn't know, he typed back. They never told us. They said we were bringing order to chaos. They said we were helping primitive species. Maybe you were lied to, replied. Maybe you're not the bad guys. Maybe your leaders are. Throughout the fleet, similar conversations were happening. Thousands of humans talking to thousands of soldiers, showing them their own history, asking them questions, making them think. In space, Captain Menu was executing his orders. The Indomitable and every human ship moved into position, but not attacking positions. They moved to surround the ships, creating a protective barrier. Captain, the fleet is powering weapons, Commander reported. Hold position, Menu said calmly. We don't move, we don't fire, we just stay exactly where we are. Sir, if they fire, we'll be destroyed. Yes, Menu agreed, but they'll also destroy several of their own ships in the process. We're betting they won't take that trade. On the flagship, stared at the tactical display. The human ships had positioned themselves perfectly. He couldn't fire on the human planet without hitting his own fleet first. Clever, he admitted. They're using our own forces as shields. Sir, we're receiving reports from across the fleet, his second officer said nervously. Many ships are requesting permission to stand down. They say they want to hear more about the historical records. They want to talk to the humans. Shouted, all ships will maintain battle readiness and... Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the Imperial High Command. They're ordering us to begin bombardment immediately. They say we're taking too long. They say we're being corrupted by the humans. Looked at the screens, at the human ships protecting his own fleet, at the messages still flooding in from Earth, at the historical records showing his people's forgotten past, at the cost of empire he had never been shown. For the first time in 20 years of military service, Commander questioned his orders. And throughout the fleet, thousands of other soldiers were doing the same thing. Phase 2 had begun. Warrant Officer watched through his binoculars as the landing craft descended on Seoul. He had 20 Marines with him, hidden on rooftops around the city, all armed, all ready to fight. Hold fire, he said into his radio. Do not engage, I repeat, do not engage. Sir, they're landing in the city center, Corporal said. Shouldn't we defend the civilians? Look closer, said, handing her the binoculars. Looked, the soldiers were exiting their craft, weapons ready, but there were no civilians running away. Instead, there were thousands of people gathering. They were carrying signs, banners, flowers. What are they doing? Whispered. Exactly what command ordered, replied. They're welcoming the invaders. The ground commander, a warrior named, led his troops into the city square. He had conquered 15 cities on 12 different worlds. He knew what to expect: resistance, guerrilla attacks, ambushes, civilians used as shields by desperate defenders. What he found instead made him stop in his tracks. A young woman walked toward him alone. She was carrying a basket of food. Behind her, thousands of humans stood in organized groups. They weren't armed. They weren't running. They were singing. Welcome to Seoul, the woman said in perfect language. My name is, we have prepared a festival for you. Would you like to join us? Raised his weapon. This is a trick. Stand back or I will fire. Didn't move. No trick. We want to share our culture with you. Food, music, art. We want to know your culture too. Please come and eat with us. We are here to occupy this city, said, but his weapon lowered slightly. You will submit to authority. Of course, said calmly, But you'll need to eat, right? You'll need places to rest. We've prepared everything. Come, I'll show you. She turned and walked away, not waiting for a response. Looked at his soldiers. They looked back at him, confused. Follow her, ordered. Stay alert. This is probably an ambush. But it wasn't an ambush. It was exactly what it promised, a festival. Tables filled with food lined the streets. Humans played music on strange instruments. Children drew pictures on the ground with colored chalk. Artists painted on large canvases. And everywhere, humans approached the soldiers with curiosity, not fear. "Where are you from?" a child asked one soldier. "What's your favorite food?" an elderly man asked another. "Do you have family back home?" a teacher asked a third. The soldiers didn't know how to respond. They were trained for combat, for occupation, for suppressing resistance. They weren't trained for this. One soldier, a young warrior named, found himself sitting at a table with a human family. They had given him food, strange but surprisingly good. They asked him about his home planet, his family, his life before the military. "I was drafted at age 15, said quietly. "I have been a soldier for 8 years. I have never known anything else." "That must be hard," the mother said, "being away from your family for so long." "I have no family," replied. "The Empire is my family, the army is my home." The mother's daughter, a girl about 10 years old, brought a drawing. It showed a human holding hands under a sun. "I made this for you," she said, "so you won't be lonely." Stared at the drawing. Something inside his chest hurt. It took him a moment to realize what it was. He was feeling an emotion the Empire had trained out of him years ago. He was feeling hope. Across the city, similar scenes were happening. Soldiers were being treated not as conquerors but as guests. Humans shared their food, their music, their art. They asked questions, shared stories, treated the aliens with dignity and kindness. In his command post, warrant officer watched it all on drone cameras. "This is insane," Corporal said. "They're fraternizing with the enemy." "No," said, "they're making friends with soldiers who were ordered to be our enemies. There's a difference." "But what if the attack? What if this is all a trick and they—" "Then we fight," interrupted. "But until they attack, we follow Admiral's orders. We protect both our people and any who want to leave their empire." "You think any of them will want that?" asked. Pointed at a screen. It showed a soldier crying while a human family comforted him. "I think we're about to find out," he said. On the flagship in orbit, Commander received reports from all occupation forces. Every single one said the same thing. No resistance. No attacks. Just humans offering friendship and asking questions. "This is psychological warfare," said. "They're trying to confuse our troops." "Is it working?" his second officer asked quietly. Didn't answer, he couldn't, because the answer was yes. Doctor appeared on his screen again. "Commander, I have a proposal," she said. "We know your empire has ordered you to execute any soldier who questions orders. We know they're sending reinforcements to make sure you follow through, but we want to offer an alternative." "What alternative?" asked tiredly. "Any soldier who wishes to leave your empire can claim asylum on Earth. We will protect them. We will give them citizenship. We will let them live in peace. No judgment, no punishment, just a chance at a different life." "That's treason," shouted. "You're asking my soldiers to betray the empire." "No," said softly. "We're giving them permission to choose their own path, something your empire never gave them." She paused, then added, "Commander, we know about your daughter." Froze. "What?" "Your daughter. She was arrested 3 years ago for writing poetry criticizing the empire. She was sentenced to re-education. You haven't seen her since." "How do you?" His voice broke. "Your military records were not as secure as you thought," said. "And Commander, we found her poetry in your ship's database. You kept copies, secret copies. You never deleted them, even though possessing them is illegal." On the screen, images appeared. Poems written in script. Beautiful, sad poems about freedom and choice and the cost of empire. She's alive, Commander. The Empire didn't erase her. They just locked her away. And she's not alone. There are thousands like her, citizens who questioned, who doubted, who wanted something different. Tears ran down's face. In 20 years of military service, he had never cried. The Empire had trained that weakness out of him. But seeing his daughter's words again, words he had secretly treasured, broke something inside him. "What do you want from me?" he whispered. "We want you to make a choice," said. "Not as a commander, as a father, as a person. We want you to decide what kind of future you want for yourself, for your daughter, for your people." Throughout the fleet, other soldiers were making similar choices. His friends sent a message. "I want asylum. I want to leave the Empire. Will you really protect me?" "Yes," typed back immediately. "Come to Earth, we'll keep you safe, I promise." In Seoul, the young soldier approached. "If I leave the Empire," he asked quietly, "if I ask for asylum, will they really let me stay?" Smiled. "Yes, you can stay as long as you want. You can build a new life here. You can be free." Looked at the drawing the little girl had made for him, the Inhuman holding hands. "I want that," he said. "I want to be free." By the end of the day, 40 ships in the fleet had declared their intention to break away from the Empire. Thousands of soldiers on the ground requested asylum. The occupation had turned into a refugee crisis. And in orbit, watching all of this happen, Captain Minyu prepared for the real battle, because he knew what came next. The Empire would send reinforcements, and they wouldn't be interested in peace talks or cultural exchanges. They would come to destroy everyone, human and rebels alike. The real war was about to begin. The reinforcement fleet arrived 3 weeks later, 200 warships, led by War Master, the most ruthless commander in the Empire. He looked at the reports from his fleet and felt nothing but disgust. 40 ships have turned traitor," said to his officers. "Thousands of our warriors have abandoned their posts to live with humans. This is the greatest shame in our empire's history." "What are your orders, War Master?" his tactical officer asked. "We destroy them all," said coldly. "The traitors, the humans, everything. We make an example that will last 1,000 years." On Earth, Admiral gathered his command staff. Commander was there too. He had defected 3 days earlier, bringing with him detailed intelligence about military tactics. "War Master is not like me," said. "He is a true believer. He will not listen to reason. He will not be swayed by culture or kindness. He will simply destroy you." "We know," said calmly. "We expected this." "Then why aren't you preparing your defenses?" demanded. "Why aren't you evacuating cities? Why are your people still celebrating with my former soldiers?" "Because that's exactly what we want to see," replied. Captain Minyu spoke up from the video screen. "Admiral, the reinforcement fleet will be in attack range in 6 hours. I can position our forces, but we both know we can't win a direct engagement." "We're not going to engage them directly," said. "Political Officer Ara, are you ready?" A young woman stepped forward. Ara was Earth's representative to the United Nations. She was also, secretly, one of the best strategic thinkers humanity had ever produced. "Broadcasting in 5 minutes, Admiral," Ara said. "Broadcasting what?" asked. "The truth," Ara replied. 5 minutes later, every screen on Earth showed the same thing. Ara, standing in front of the United Nations building, speaking to the entire galaxy. "My name is Ara," she said. "I represent the people of Earth. Today, War Master arrives with orders to destroy our planet. He will kill every human. He will also kill every soldier who chose peace over war. Thousands of your people, thousands of warriors who simply wanted a different life." She paused, letting that sink in. "But before you destroy us, I want to make an offer. To any soldier on any ship in any fleet, Earth offers you asylum. We offer you citizenship. We offer you protection. You don't have to fight for an empire that sees you as disposable. You don't have to die for leaders who will sacrifice you without hesitation. On flagship, alarms started blaring. "Sir, we're detecting thousands of transmissions," the communications officer said. "The humans are broadcasting on every frequency. They're sending messages directly to our ships, to individual soldiers." Blockett roared. "We can't, sir. They're using our own protocols. They must have gotten them from the defectors." Throughout fleet, soldiers watched Ara's broadcast. Then they started receiving personal messages from humans, from defectors who had found peace on Earth, from their own people who had made the choice to leave. The weapons technician who had been talking to for weeks sent a message to his old ship. "I am alive, I am free, I am happy. Come join me, please." The young soldier who had been drafted at 15 sent a video. It showed him in a park on Earth playing with human children. He was smiling. He looked younger, lighter. "This is what life can be," his message said. "No more war, no more orders, just peace, just choice. Come home to a new home." Throughout fleet, soldiers began to question, to doubt, to wonder if there was another way. On his ship felt his control slipping. He made a decision. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered. His officers stared at him in shock. "Sir, that weapon is forbidden except by direct order from the High Emperor," one officer said. "I have that order," lied. "Load the weapon. We will destroy Earth in one strike, and we will destroy any ship that defects before they can escape." The planet killer was the Empire's most devastating weapon. It could crack a planet's core, causing the entire world to explode. It took an hour to charge. On Earth, Engineer detected the energy buildup. "Admiral, they're charging a planet killer," he said, his voice shaking. "We have maybe an hour before they can fire." Didn't look worried. "Is everything ready?" "Yes, sir," said, "but are you sure this will work?" "No," admitted, "but it's our only chance." He pressed a button. "Attention all human forces. Attention all defector ships. Begin Operation Surrender." Throughout the solar system, every human ship powered down. Weapons offline, shields offline, engines offline. They went completely dark. "What are you doing?" demanded. "You're making yourselves defenseless." "Exactly," said. On flagship, the tactical officer looked confused. "Sir, the human fleet has powered down. They're surrendering." Smiled. "Finally, these humans show wisdom. Helm, move us into position over their planet. We'll accept their surrender, take their leaders into custody, and then destroy them anyway. Let it be a lesson." "Sir, should we power down the planet killer?" the weapons officer asked. "No," said, "keep it charged. I want them to see it. I want them to know that mercy is not an option." The reinforcement fleet moved into orbit around Earth. Ship took position directly above the United Nations building. He broadcast to the planet below. "Humans of Earth, your surrender is accepted. You will send all political and military leaders to my ship for processing. You have 1 hour to comply." On Earth, Admiral stood up. "Begin phase final," he said quietly. Ara spoke into the camera again. "War Master, we will send our leaders to you, but first I want to show you something." Every screen on ship changed. Every screen on every ship in his fleet. They showed live feeds from Earth. Soldiers living peacefully with humans. Soldiers laughing, playing, learning, being treated with dignity and respect. Then the screens showed something else. Records. Detailed records of every planet the Empire had conquered, every species destroyed, every culture erased. And the costs. The terrible costs paid by the people themselves. "Your empire has lied to you," Ara said. "Every soldier sees these records now. Your own history, the truth your leaders hid from you." Engineer had been busy during the 3 weeks since the defections began. He hadn't just been collecting data. He had been planting code. Deep, sophisticated code hidden in every message the humans had sent, in every transmission, in every cultural exchange. And now that code activated. Throughout fleet, the AI systems humanity had secretly installed woke up. They didn't take control of weapons. They didn't override ship systems. They did something far more powerful. They gave every soldier access to information the Empire had hidden for 200 years. Every soldier suddenly saw the truth, their own history, the Empire's lies, the cost of conquest, and they saw the alternative, humans living peacefully with defectors, a different way of life, a choice. No, screamed, override the systems, block the transmissions, fire the planet killer now. But his weapons officer didn't respond. None of his crew responded. They were all watching the screens, reading the information, learning the truth. I said fire, roared. The weapons officer turned to him. There were tears on her face. No, War Master, she said quietly, I will not. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. Officers refused orders. Soldiers questioned. Crews debated. The iron discipline of the Empire cracked under the weight of truth. Watched from Earth and whispered, by the ancestors, it worked. It actually worked. Not yet, said. Still has control of the planet killer, and he's desperate enough to fire it manually. On the flagship, drew his weapon. I will fire it myself if I must. The Empire will not fall because of these human tricks. He ran to the weapons control room. His crew didn't stop him. They just watched. Reached the controls. The planet killer was fully charged. One button, one press, and Earth would die. His finger moved toward the button. Father froze. He knew that voice. He hadn't heard it in 3 years. He turned slowly. On the screen, his daughter appeared. She was thin, pale, but alive, and she was on Earth. Whispered, how? The humans freed me, she said. They found me in the re-education center. They broke me out. Father, they saved me. His hand shook. That's impossible. The Empire said you were dead, finished. They lied. They've been lying about everything. Father, please don't do this. Don't destroy the people who gave me back my life. Looked at his daughter, at the planet below, at his crew watching him, at the choice before him. His finger moved away from the button. The war was over. But the real change was just beginning. War Master stood in the United Nations building 5 hours later. He had surrendered. The entire reinforcement fleet had stood down, not because they were defeated in battle, but because they chose to stop fighting. Admiral sat across from him. Between them sat's daughter. She held her father's hand. I don't understand, said quietly. You could have destroyed us. When we powered down to accept your surrender, your ships could have fired. You were in perfect position. We could have, agreed. But that would have made us like your empire. We don't want to destroy you. We want to free you. Free us, looked confused. We came to conquer you. No, said. Your empire sent you to conquer us. There's a difference. You are not your orders. You are not your empire. You are people who deserve the chance to choose your own path. Squeezed her father's hand. That's what I tried to tell them in my poetry. That's why they arrested me. The empire doesn't want people who think. They want tools who obey. Looked at his daughter, then at what happens now. Now, said, we help you build something new. 6 months later, the empire was collapsing, not from military defeat but from the inside. Species after species learned what happened at Earth. They learned that the empire's soldiers could be reached, could be convinced, could choose peace. Rebellions spread across the empire, but they weren't violent rebellions. They were information rebellions, people sharing truth, people choosing freedom, people refusing to fight. On Earth, thousands had claimed asylum. They lived in cities alongside humans. They worked. They learned. They built new lives. The weapons technician now taught engineering at a university in Seoul. He and were best friends. She was applying to his university for next year. The young soldier ran a center. He loved working with children. He had never been allowed to have a childhood himself, so he made sure every child he cared for had the best childhood possible. Commander worked with Earth's military, helping design new defensive systems. But more importantly, he worked with political officer Ara on something called the Freedom Protocol, a detailed guide on how to peacefully resist aggressive empires, how to reach soldiers, how to share information, how to win without fighting. And War Master, he spent his days with his daughter, making up for 3 lost years. He also gave testimony to the Galactic Council about the Empire's crimes. His testimony helped dozens of species gain independence. Captain Minu commanded a joint human exploration fleet. They weren't conquering. They were exploring, learning, meeting new species and sharing the story of Earth. Many species asked for help resisting their own empires. Minu and his crew taught them the human way. The human way, Minu often said, is not about being stronger. It's about being smarter. It's about understanding that soldiers are people, that people can change. That truth is more powerful than any weapon. Engineer became famous across the galaxy, not for weapons but for information systems. He designed networks that couldn't be censored, communication systems that empires couldn't control. He made sure truth could always find a way through. Dr. ran the Galactic Cultural Exchange Institute. It was a massive organization dedicated to preserving and sharing the cultures of every species. The Empire had tried to erase cultures, made sure they would never be forgotten. Commander trained resistance fighters from a dozen species, but she didn't teach them to fight with weapons. She taught them to fight with information, with empathy, with the understanding that their enemies were often victims of the same systems they were fighting against. And warrant officer, he wrote a book. It was called The Battle We Never Fought. It became required reading at military academies across friendly space. It taught that the best victory is the one where nobody has to die. 5 years after first contact, Admiral gave a speech at the dedication of the Monument of Choice. It was a massive structure showing a human and a reaching toward each other. Around them were carved the names of every soldier who had chosen peace over war. 5 years ago, said to the crowd of humans and dozens of alien species, the Empire came to conquer us. They expected us to fight or surrender. We did neither. We showed them a third option, choice. He paused, looking at the crowd, at Inhumans standing together, at representatives from species the Empire had once conquered, at the new generation growing up in a different kind of galaxy. The Empire thought military might was the ultimate power. They were wrong. The ultimate power is the power to change minds, to reach hearts, to show people that there is always another way. We didn't defeat the Empire with weapons. We defeated it with truth, with kindness, with the radical idea that everyone deserves the chance to choose their own future. In the crowd stood next to. She was starting university next month. He would be one of her professors. They had become close friends over the years, proving that friendship could bridge any gap. Stood with, she now ran a global organization that helped alien refugees integrate into Earth society. Was her most successful case study and her close friend. Stood with her father, had gray hair now and walked with a slight limp, but his eyes were clear. He was at peace. He had spent 5 years trying to undo the damage the Empire had done. He would spend the rest of his life doing the same. Ara finished her doctoral thesis on nonviolent resistance to imperial aggression. It was being translated into 47 languages. Species across the galaxy were reading it, learning from it, using it. After the ceremony, a young alien approached Admiral. She was from a species called the. Her people were currently under occupation by an aggressive empire. Admiral, she said nervously, my people need help. The Empire occupies our world. They are powerful. Their military is vast. Can you help us? Smiled, it was a kind smile. We can help you, but not with weapons. We'll teach you what we taught that the soldiers occupying your world are people, people who can be reached, people who can choose differently. But what if they don't choose? The young asked. What if they keep fighting? Then we keep trying, said, because every person who chooses peace is a victory. Every soldier who questions orders weakens the empire. Every act of kindness plants a seed of doubt. It's slow, it's difficult, but it works. And unlike war, everybody can win. The young looked hopeful. Will you come to my world? We'll send a team, promised, led by some of our best people, humans, and working together. We'll show your people the Freedom Protocol. We'll teach you the human way. The human way, the young alien repeated, fighting without fighting. Not exactly, corrected gently. We do fight. We fight very hard, but we fight for hearts and minds. We fight to show people the truth. We fight to give everyone the chance to choose. That's the hardest fight there is, but it's the only fight worth winning. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Earth had defeated an empire without firing a shot. They had done it with information, with kindness, with the simple belief that everyone deserved a choice. Other empires heard the story and worried, because weapons they understood, military tactics they could counter. But how do you fight against truth? How do you defeat kindness? How do you conquer people who turn your own soldiers into friends? The answer was simple: you couldn't. One by one, aggressive empires fell, not to military might but to information, to truth, to the revolutionary idea that soldiers were people who deserved to choose their own path. And at the center of it all was Earth, the small blue planet that had been ready to die rather than become conquerors themselves, the species that had looked at overwhelming military force and said, "We can beat this without fighting." They were right. Captain Minu often said it best. Humans are not the strongest species. We're not the fastest but we understand something that many species forget. We understand people. We understand that everyone has doubts. Everyone questions. Everyone wants something better. We just help them see that something better is possible. And what is that something better? A young officer once asked him. Minu smiled. Choice, he said. The freedom to choose your own future. The freedom to say no to orders that go against your conscience. The freedom to believe there's a better way. That's what we fought for. That's what we won. And that's what we'll keep fighting for, one heart and one mind at a time. The war was over. But the real victory was just beginning. Because across the galaxy, in 1,000 different languages, on 100 different worlds, people were learning the same lesson. Aliens might be ready for battle, but nobody is ready for humanity's refusal to fight the way you expect. And in the end, that makes all the difference.